All right, so if you have weight loaded equipment, where you actually load the free weights onto the machine, usually you can adjust the height. So here I'm going to lower the seat down. And as you notice, when I come up to this overhead shoulder press machine, I'm kind of thick for this machine and my elbows are below my shoulders. Again, once you start the repetitions, I really don't think that you need to drop your elbows below 90 degrees or even with the shoulders. So you're just going to be reaching up, coming down to a 90-degree bend, and then back up. But once you start getting under heavy weight, it's important not to strain your neck, trying to lift them both up at once, because starting from this low position, it's going to put some strain on your traps. So what I suggest doing is leaning over. You're going to lift one side up. Now you're going to have to brace your core, your obliques, your abs to keep your spine vertical. Then you kind of lean to this side, again, bracing your abs and getting underneath this, push it up, and now you get centered. Don't look up, don't look down, left or right. You're going to keep your chin parallel with the floor, come down to 90 degrees, and then back up. 90 degrees, back up, looking straight forward all the time, just like so. When you're done, I suggest leaning to one side, lowering the weight, leaning to the other side, even if you have to engage the other hand, lowering the weight. Don't do more than you can do without a spotter. All right, this is an adjustable chest press machine. So you can adjust usually there's a red or yellow knob. You can adjust the height of the arms. You have multiple grip positions. This would be considered a neutral grip. This is a high and a low grip. I'm gonna set it about here. Right now you can see the bench is on an incline. You can also drop the bench down to do a flat bench press, and that's when you would drop the weight where the handle's lower to get a bench press. We're gonna go up here to an incline. Now I'll be honest, this is not my favorite machine for working chest because I don't like starting the rep at the bottom of the motion. I do prefer starting it at the top. That way the muscles are already loaded with tension. So when you come down on the eccentric contraction, you already have tensile strength built up in the muscles, and then you have more power coming back up. So that first rep on a machine like this is gonna be difficult. When you have a weight stack like this where you can take a pin to select the weight, that's called selectorized equipment. So you'll find selectorized equipment all the way around the gym. Selectorized equipment's nice because you don't have to rack your weights. You just pick your weight, you put it in there, and then you press. So this would be a slight incline chest press. You want to squeeze the pecs and press up. Again, as you notice in this machine, the one thing that is nice about the machine is it really doesn't allow the weight to be loaded where your elbows go below the back. So even if you're doing a barbell bench press, which we'll go over later, I don't really ever recommend letting the elbows go behind the back under any kind of weight, especially heavy weight. Put your anterior labrum at risk of being torn, anterior deltoid. You don't need to come down here to really engage the pecs. This is a pressing motion anyway, and you're gonna engage a lot of triceps. This would be a neutral grip. It's a standard grip. Again, the neutral grip is here. If you're having shoulder pain, I suggest a neutral grip. And it's primarily going to be activating your pecs and your triceps. But again, you are starting at the bottom, so it's hard to go real heavy. If you're going to power lift, you notice you always start at the top, so you brace the weight. You brace your lats back and down. You're bringing the weight down, elbows even with the back, and then you press back up. So let's talk about how to use the ab crunch machine. If you're not doing cable crunches, it's the same principle if you are using a cable machine. It's all about the spine. So when you do a crunch, you want to imagine trying to touch your sternum to your belly button. Your spine should roll down and all the abs should crunch. What I see a lot happening in gyms, people will either pull with their arms as they lean forward and they keep their spine straight like this, which really isn't doing anything for the abs. That's more of a hip flexor motion when you're hip hinging like that. Instead, you want to brace your shoulders back and down so you're not pulling with the arms, and use your abs to curl your spine into a really tight crunch. Come up, stretch the abs, and again, try to touch the sternum to the belly button, flexing the abdominal muscles. That's a proper way to use a cable crunch machine or a crunch machine or a cable crunch machine. All right, let's talk about a lot of the Selectorized equipment you're gonna see like this. Cybex, it's a very popular brand. You're gonna find this in a lot of gyms. With this Cybex machine, it's a little old school, so you can add some extra weight. We're gonna take that extra weight off, but you know you can add extra weight. We're going to keep it light just for demonstration purposes only, but you'll be able to select how much you can do. Obviously the backrest is adjustable. There's a pin here so you can fit it to your body, and this is adjustable as well. It goes up and down. We're going to leave it where it's at right now, and we're going to talk about how to train the quads. So you're brand new to the gym. You're going to be wanting to find a weight that you can do about 15 to 20 reps at. Now you're going to feel a fire burning on the top of your legs here. This is to develop the quad muscles, right? Top of the legs here. Typically there's handles here, so you want your shoulder blades back and down. You want to brace your abs always by drawing in the abdomen, doing a slight vacuum hold. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this, working the different heads of the quads. First of all, you just come straight up, slowly come down. Power up, slowly come down. Notice the position of my feet, how my toes are up and towards me. Now, a variation of this, if you're trying to hit the inner head really hard and get that big teardrop to happen right here. As you come up, you're going to roll your ankles, your big toes towards each other, and you're going to try to make these 2 parts of your legs almost touch, and that's going to force a lot of the work to the inner head of the quad here, and you'll get that big teardrop look as you start lifting heavy. But you don't want to only train that way, because you want to train all the muscles of the quad. So having a neutral alignment of the tibia, the shin, would be optimal to train equally. But if you're really trying to focus on that big head that a lot of people like to have right here, you definitely want to roll in as you come up and then unroll as you come down. This is a typical leg extension machine you'll find in most gyms. All right, this is a beast of a machine. It looks can be quite intimidating looking at it. It has a lot of moving parts, a lot of levers. It's a seated hamstring curl machine. Sometimes you'll find a laying hamstring curl machine. So there's a lot of adjustable parts here to fit your body. I can pull this pin up to move the pad a little further down the back of my calves. This here, you just pull this, it puts this here, helps kind of keep my legs down, and it's made to push back so I drive backwards. And then the toes, you don't want to point your toes when you do this exercise. You want to lift your toes towards your chest, push yourself back into the seat, and then essentially you're just going to try to tuck your heels as far under your butt as you can. Slowly release by contracting the hamstring, and this works the back of the legs. So a nice tight contraction. If you have a slight arch in your low back, completely fine. You'll notice on the lying hamstring curl machines, a lot of bodybuilders will always have their chest up and out and their low back arched when doing this lying down. And again, when we do our variation podcast, we'll be going over all the variations in different ways, if you don't have this machine available, that you can train the hamstrings. But again, if you're just getting started, I suggest selecting a weight where you can do 15 to 20 reps for 2 sets. Now, this is a hip abduction machine. We're going to go over abduction first. Abduction hits the glute minimus, the top of the butt, the top of the hip. So you're going to crawl into this machine. It's kind of funny looking. This allows you to set the level you want. If for abduction, you start all the way in. Down there, you can select your weight. Essentially, you're going to want your back, your chest up and out, and your back against the backrest. If you can reach the handles, cool. If not, you're just spreading the legs far apart as you can. You should feel this in your upper glutes, upper hip area, and that's what really going to help build the separation from your low back into that booty you're trying to build. So this is definitely a booty builder workout right here, but it also works all the abduction muscles on the outside of the thigh as well. Cool thing about this machine is 2-in-1. Some gyms have 2 different machines. This one, you simply take your leg out, rotate the pads around, put your feet back on there, and then you open it up as wide as you can, and now it becomes adduction. Adduction is bringing something to the midline of the body. So now we're going to be working the inner thighs and strengthening your ability to pull it together. Don't let gravity or the weight pull you apart ever. You want to be in complete control at all times, so you squeeze together and slowly release. Squeeze together, slowly release. Squeeze together, slowly release. And that is a hip abduction machine. All right, right here we have an old school preacher curl bench. This is called an easy bar. Most easy bars weigh 25 pounds before you load them with plates. We're going to talk about the preacher curl first. That's what this backrest is for, is to try to isolate your biceps. Find a comfortable position for your hands. There's a lot of waves in this bar, but you want your upper arm to rest against this pad. So when you come up, you're going to flex the biceps as hard as you can, If you want to curl your wrist, that's fine. If you want a full grip, that's fine. You're just going to be engaging more forearms. As you can see, when you close your fingers, the forearms are now helping the lift. So when I'm trying to isolate biceps, I prefer an open grip unless the weight's too heavy for me to hold it like that. And then I flex the biceps really hard at the top and come down really slow. You could also turn your hands over into a Zotman curl and lift this way with an overhand grip. It's still training just a different head of the bicep. It's a variation. Also, it's great for forearm curls like this, working the underside of the forearm if you want the massive Popeye forearms. But if you do that, or if you start experiencing elbow pain, as I tell all my clients, the top of the forearm is often overlooked and undertrained, and it could lead to some elbow pain because of a muscular imbalance if this forearm, the inner forearm, becomes a lot stronger than the outer forearm. In that case, you want to take an overhand grip, lightweight. You want to go for reps, and now you're just bringing the wrist up, up, up for as many reps as possible. I think the forearms, in my personal opinion, grow more from volume, which means more reps, than necessarily a lot of weight. All right, here we have a wide cable machine. It has two sides. Each side, you're able to lift and adjust the anchor point, whatever height you like. Comes with multiple attachments. In most gyms, you'll see ropes, you'll see all sorts of funny objects, maybe ankle straps. The versatility of the cable machine requires its own podcast. We could spend an hour or more probably talking about everything this thing does. So you notice there's pull-up bars here, chin-up bars, there's everything here. With a cable machine, you can work literally almost every muscle in the body. It is so versatile that there really isn't anything that you cannot hit with a cable machine. Let's talk about gym etiquette. So a lot of gyms, if it's a big box gym, you're gonna have more than one cable machine. Smaller gyms, you may not. So somebody may be over here doing some tricep press downs, and somebody may be over there working. A lot of times these will swivel. So if their bag's up here, the proper polite thing to do would be to step away, give them their space, and do your work over here. It's always polite to ask somebody if they're using both sides or one side. You don't want to step in on somebody's routine. Now, if they're doing one side and then stepping over to use the other side for something else, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, no, go ahead, because it's just as easy for them to switch out their attachment if they're supersetting workouts. Now, obviously, if somebody's using both sides simultaneously, for something like cable crossovers, that's going to look a little different, and you're going to know that the machine is unavailable. But for people that have never been to a gym or intimidated about going to a gym, what you'll find is if you just ask people if they're using a piece of equipment or if it's available, most people are very nice, or they'll say, hey, it's my last set, you can have it right after me. So using both sides at once, doing something like a cable crossover, chest flies, whatever they're doing, obviously the machine's unavailable. If they walk away from the equipment, in my opinion, the equipment's free. A lot of people will try to leave water bottles, clothes, bags like that. Maybe, keep it on. If they just went to the water fountain real quick and they're coming back, the polite thing to do would be on their way back, like, hey, are you done? If you're trying to get that piece of equipment, because you're limited on time. The gym etiquette is key. We'll do a complete podcast on the versatility of everything beautiful that you're able to do with these cable machines, because it's probably my favorite piece of equipment in the gym. All right, in a lot of gyms, whether it's on a cable machine or just different pieces of equipment, you're gonna have different attachments. So this would be like a V-bar attachment. The V-bar keeps your wrist in a neutral position. Neutral would be like this. So you could do a cable row. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot you can do with a V-bar besides a cable row. A lot of muscles you can work, but we're just going over the attachments. And what the main thing about attachments is typically the positioning of the wrist, or what you're really trying to target. So depending on the movement pattern you're doing, for instance, this bar here will put your hands at a 45 degrees. So not quite neutral, but it puts the wrist at 45 degrees, which will allow really good, it also swivels, so it's great for a tricep press down and many other things that you could use it for as well. You're gonna see a lot of attachments in your gym. We don't have all of them available here, but we're going to go over the basics. Rope attachment, again, an extremely versatile piece of equipment, just depending on how you grip it. Since the rope is flexible and you can bring it through all the way and just use one side of it, or you could use both sides of it with your hand on the back of these stoppers. You could do face pulls. You could do straight arm lat pull downs. You could do trap raises by just changing the grip. There's so much you can do. Reverse wood choppers. Again, these are the attachments that you're going to find at the gym, and we're just going to give you just some basics on what they're used for. Now, we showed you the V-bar, which puts your hands in a neutral position. This is a wide grip bar, okay? Typically you'll see it for lat pull downs, but if you're doing a cable row, you could also do wide grip cable row. If you got a cable machine without a bench, one of the best things you can do is compound exercises. So by doing a squat, you're isometrically working your leg muscles, but then you can functionally work your back as you row. And that's gonna help you with stabilization while you're getting your leg strength up, because you have to balance and pull. So wide grip is gonna target different parts of the muscles that you're training versus a closer, more narrow grip. Here's a much shorter bar. Again, the bar swivels, so it allows you to do a lot of things with it. It's one of my favorites for the straight arm lat pull down, which looks like this again. But a lot of people also use this for their tricep press downs, like this, because the bar swivels and allows the wrist to go around the motion and keep it stable. Tons of stuff you could do with all of this equipment. It's all extremely versatile, and we'll be covering more and more in future podcasts about how to use the attachments. All right, now we have the infamous squat rack. In the gym community, this could be a very controversial place depending on what exercise you're doing. They call it a squat rack, obviously, for squats. You want to do your squats in this area, so if you hit failure and you can't stand back up, these bars here are made to catch the bar and allow you not to get crushed under the weight of a squat. However, you're going to hear a lot on the internet and a lot of bro science and a lot of guys saying, don't be doing curls in the squat racks. What they mean by that is squat racks for squatting. Whether you're doing front squats, back squats, or whatever. However, if you're in a small gym, if the gym is empty, and you're trying to hit some personal best on a barbell bicep curl, me personally, I got no problem putting 45s on each side of this thing, because it's the perfect height where I don't have to bend down to the ground, and I will curl in the squat rack. All right, this is typically called a power tower. Again, many things you're gonna see a lot of people doing with this piece of equipment. It's very versatile. It's got step ups right here and here, so you can get up here. Now, one thing I see a lot of people doing is leg raises, but their spine doesn't move. So they're trying to train their abs, and they're just lifting their legs up like that. And they may be getting some activation in the transverse abdominis or lower abdominal muscles. However, to truly train the abs hard, you need your spine to roll. Again, trying to take the sternum to the belly button. So the hardest part about this is bracing yourself to where, as you can hold yourself. If you're not at the ability yet to where you start sinking down like this, not a safe exercise for you yet. There's a modification that you should be doing instead. But if you are doing leg raises, whether it's straight arm or bent, I prefer starting with bent because it gives you more of ability to bend, to roll the spine. You get a really good ab crunch. Now, if I'm not too big for this guy, I'm gonna show you. These handles are for chest dips. A lot of times you'll see guys with a belt, a chain hanging off of it, and weight attached if they need more than body weight resistance. So, again, this is more of an advanced exercise. And that's how I'd use that. And then typically on the back, you are going to have handles down here. They're basically push-up handles. You can do a lot of variations with the push-ups and those handles. You also have a wide grip, pull up. You can also go underhand, chin up. Tons of things you can do with a power tower.